This was me December 23rd, 2020 at 250 pounds. When I was taking this photo, I just remember looking at it and I was like, wow, I got fat. Because you look at yourself at the mirror every single day, so you don't really notice these things. But my face was so round, I was huffing and puffing doing simple activities. So I decided to take my weight loss journey pretty seriously. I ended up losing 72 pounds in 10 months. When I lost that weight, a lot of people saw it and thought there was a secret to it. But here's the thing, 5 years later, I gained most of it back, peaking at 232 pounds. Not because I stopped caring, not because I got lazy overnight. It was because the way I was doing things to lose that 72 pounds, I couldn't keep it up. When I was dieting initially, I was very miserable. I was constantly eating food I didn't like. For example, classic chicken and rice. I was making that and it had completely no flavor. So I was basically running on willpower alone. That eventually just broke. And here's the thing, I think a lot of you guys watching this right now know exactly what that feels like. You started before, maybe multiple times, you make progress, and then something happens and you're back to square one. That's exactly why I made this video. I spent the last 4 years figuring out what actually works, not just for losing weight, but building the body you actually want and keeping it. In this video, I'm going to give you the complete system. How to train, how to eat, how to recover, how to think, and most importantly, why most people fail even when they know exactly what to do. And before we get into anything, I want to address this one thing. I guarantee you that some of you guys watching this have already thought about it. And I've been training hard, but I haven't been progressing really much, and I just have bad genetics. I'm not going to sit here and tell you genetics don't matter. They do. Some people build muscle faster than others. Some people have better muscle bellies. That's real and that's true. But here's the thing. If you've been lifting for less than 5 years, genetics are not your biggest problem. Research shows that natural lifters can keep making real progress for at least 5 to 10 years of consistent training. I've been lifting for 8 years. It hasn't been that consistent, but I'm still growing. Definitely not as fast compared to when I first started lifting in high school. So if you're 1 or 2 years in and you're already blaming your genetics, you're just coping. The real issue is your training, your nutrition, or your consistency. Genetics set your ceiling, and most people never get close to that ceiling. Even if your genetics aren't the best, that doesn't mean you stop trying when things get hard. You can't blame something you can't control. So for the rest of the video, let's talk about things you can actually control. Your mentality. Many people might think the training aspect is the most important factor, but it's actually your mentality that matters the most. And I know that because I was that person. In the last few years, after putting the weight back on, I'd often say I would start my diet the next day or after this night of drinking and partying. I consistently find another reason to push it back no matter what. And this has led me to go from the lowest I've ever been, which is 168, to 232 pounds. And I'm sure that sounds familiar because here's what I learned. Motivation is a lie. Motivation comes and goes whenever. Some days you're fired up, some days you want to stay in bed. And if you wait to feel motivated, you will never be consistent. And this is the one thing I learned, which actually works, is understanding your identity. The moment everything changed for me wasn't when I found the perfect program. It wasn't when I figured out my macros. It was when I decided that this is who I am now. I am someone who trains and I am someone who takes care of their body. That's it. And I'm going to be honest with you. Personally, becoming Catholic was also a huge part of that shift. It changed how I viewed my work ethic and my body entirely. In 1 Corinthians 6:19, it says your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And ever since I understood that, I stopped looking at training as something I had to do. I started seeing it as something I get to do. It's an act of taking care of something that God has given me. Now, you don't need to be religious for this to apply to you, but you need to find your why, something bigger than just get jacked and aesthetic, because that why will keep you showing up on days you don't want to show up. The guys who transform are not the most talented. They're not the ones with the best genetics. They're the ones who decided this is what they're going to do now. No negotiating, no skipping. This is who they are, and they want to get to their goal no matter what. So you have to decide who you are first, and everything else becomes easier after that. Now that we have our mentality down, let's talk about our training. There's 5 things that actually drive muscle growth. And if any one of these is off, you will feel stuck even if you're showing up every single day. And the first thing is knowing what progressive overload is. Your body is smart. It adapts to stress. So if you're doing the same weight, the same reps, the same everything week after week, your body has no reason, no stimulus for it to change. Progressive overload just means you're always pushing for a little more. More weight, more reps, better form, slower reps, more stimulus. This way you don't ever stop growing. Here's what that actually looks in real life. Let's say you're doing barbell rows. First week, you hit 185 pounds for 3 sets of 8 reps. Next week, you hit 9 reps. Next week, you hit 10 reps. And then you decide to bump it up to 195 and you're back to 8 reps. That's it. That's progressive overload. You increase the weight, you increase the reps, whatever it is, you made the exercise harder. But most people aren't doing it because they're not tracking anything. They just show up and wing it every session. If you're not tracking your lifts, you're just leaving gains on the table, period. The next thing is your training intensity. This one is big, and I say this out of love. Most of you are not training hard enough. You'd think you're at a 9 out of 10 in terms of intensity, but you're probably at a 7. And that's not me insulting you, because you never actually push past failure. You don't know what failure feels like yet. For muscle growth, your working sets should be within 1 to 2 reps of failure. What that means is the last rep was such a slow grind that you almost failed. That's a zone you want to live in, RPE of 7 to 10 on your working sets. Now, for number 3, which is the amount of volume you should actually be doing. For building muscle, you should aim for at least 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. Beginners can actually grow with a lot less stimulus. But here's the thing, more is not always better. If you're doing 30 sets for one muscle group, you're just piling up fatigue without extra growth. So start at 10 to 15 sets. See how your body responds and just adjust from there. Now, the next thing is super important, which is your form. Ego lifting will kill your progress. I learned this the hard way. So I used to powerlift and I would push weight that my body's not used to and try to PR every week. And now I'm dealing with shoulder issues. Many years later, it's not worth it. So just focus on controlling the weight, use full range of motion, focus on feeling your muscle work, not just moving the weight from point A to point B. Like actually feel the muscle working. And if your form breaks down mid-set, just end the set, drop the weight. I know it's going to hurt your ego, but your joints will thank you in 10 years. Last thing is we got frequency. How often should you train each muscle? So research shows that training each muscle at least twice a week produces better growth than once a week. So if you're doing a bro split where you hit chest once a week, back once a week, and all these other body parts once a week, you're leaving a lot of growth on the table. You could do upper lower splits, push-pull legs, full body. All of these can work as long as each muscle is getting hit at least twice per week with enough volume. Okay, so now that you know how to train, but here's where most people go wrong. I know I told you just search for a plan, but you're going to go on Google, you're going to find a random push-pull leg program, bro split, you're going to run it for a few months, and you're going to wonder why you still look the same. Here's a problem. On top of not hitting your muscle group enough, the program wasn't built for you. It wasn't built for anybody in particular. It's just a very generic program. The way you should actually be programming is by looking at your own physique first. Stand in front of a mirror, be honest with yourself. What is it that you're lagging? What's underdeveloped? And what do you actually want to bring up? And if you don't know, just look at what you want to grow specifically. Is it your back, arms, legs? Because that's what your program should actually be built around. Closing your weak points, not just following whatever random program you found online, on Reddit, whatever it is. Let me show you exactly how I program for myself and how you can apply it for yourself. My biggest weak points are 1, my hamstrings, my biceps, my traps, and my abs. The things I'm going to focus on and program around is those points. Most leg days that you find online are very quad focused, but for my personal program, it's more hamstring focused because that's my lagging part. So I'll prioritize hamstring exercises. And now for back days, I'm going to have more trap work built in, like shrugs, face pulls, heavy rolls with the trap emphasis. Now for arm days, I'm going to prioritize my biceps. I'm not just going to throw in 2 sets and that's the end of it. I'm going to have at least 4 to 5 sets of focused bicep work with different angles. And that's how you program. You identify the gap in your physique and you build the plan around closing them, not the other way around. So before you follow another generic program online, spend 10 minutes assessing yourself honestly. Like just look at yourself, be honest, write down your weak points, and make sure your program is actually built to address those points. Now for the next part, I'm sure you guys heard the saying, abs are made in the kitchen. You can have the best program in the world, but if your nutrition is off, progress is going to slow down or not even happen at all. So let me break this down simply. The first thing to understand is how much energy do you expend on a regular basis? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to Google and search up a TDEE calculator. You're going to plug in your weight, height, age, and activity level. This is going to give you your maintenance calories, the amount of food your body needs to stay at the same weight. Now, here's a disclaimer. This is an estimate. Everyone is different, but it gives you a good general guideline. From there, it's very simple. If you want to lose fat, you eat below that number. And if you want to gain weight, you eat above that number. But if you want to lose fat and build muscle, you have to eat below maintenance, but you have to eat a lot of protein. And that's what a body recomp is. For me right now, at around 210 pounds, training 5 days a week at 5'11", my maintenance is about 3,200 calories. So since I'm currently in a cut, I'm eating below that at 2,200 calories. The next thing is protein. Just because we have our caloric range doesn't mean we get to eat whatever. We still need to aim for at least 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight minimum. And that's every single day, no exceptions. If you weigh 200 pounds at 5'11", your lean body weight should be around 170 to 175 pounds. So you eat around 170 grams of protein. That's the target. But protein is what your body uses to repair and build muscle. Without enough of it, your workouts are just stress, no payoff. Now, the next thing is about carbs and fats. Many people have this bad misconception that carbs and fat is not good for you. The thing is, carbs fuel your training. Eat most of them before and after your workouts when your body actually needs them. Next thing is fats. Fats support your hormones and your overall health. Just don't go below 20% of your total calories when it comes to fat, or your testosterone might take a hit. The rest of your calories after protein and fat can just all be carbs. Now, the fourth step might actually get overlooked a lot, and it's the quality of the food. 80 to 90% of your diet should be whole foods. Meat, rice, potatoes, eggs, fruits, vegetables, stuff that gives a lot of nutrients. The reason for that is processed food is engineered to make you eat more than you should. It doesn't fill you up the same way as whole food, so the foundation should always be real food. Now, this doesn't mean you can never eat out or enjoy something ever again. Life has to be sustainable. When you do eat out, just be very mindful about what you put in your body. Instead of fried food, you get grilled. As for sauce on the side, go lighter on cheeses and dairies. Now, just these small swaps alone adds up over months. Now, on to the last thing about your diet, which might be the most important thing to do, which is tracking your food. Because most people have no idea how much they're actually eating. When I first initially started, I thought I was eating around 2,000 calories a day. And after I started tracking, it was close to 2,800. That's almost a full extra meal that I didn't even know that I was eating. So use apps like MicroFactor or MyFitnessPal. Get a food scale from Amazon for like $10 and just weigh and log everything. So this way you're precise. Now, you don't have to do this forever, but the initial tracking period teaches you what real portions look like. And once you know that, you can be less strict while still staying on track. Now that we're done talking about nutrition and diet, let's talk about our recovery. I see a lot of guys make this mistake all the time, myself included. They think more work always equals more results. So they train 6 days a week, maybe even 7 days a week. They push through soreness, they skip rest days because rest days make them feel lazy. Then you wonder why you're not progressing anymore. And here's the truth. Muscle does not grow in the gym. The gym is where you break down your muscle tissue. Sleep and food is what builds it back up. If you're not recovering properly, you are just tearing yourself down over and over with nothing to really gain for it. You should be getting at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. This is a non-negotiable. Sleep is when your body releases growth hormone. It's also when muscle protein synthesis actually happens. It's also when your nervous system resets. So if you're sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night and wondering why you're not growing, why your lifts feel like shit, this gym session sucks, that's your answer right there. I know some people are like, oh, you gotta just grind it out. But, that's the thing. You need rest. And I personally feel best on 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Anything less, I'm kind of dragging myself, and anything more, I feel really groggy. So you gotta find your sweet spot, but protect it like it's part of your program, because it is. Sleep is so important. I hear so many people say screw rest days. But you should take at least 1 to 2 full rest days per week. I mean full rest, not like active recovery, just rest. Let your joints recover, let your CNS reset. If you're constantly sore, constantly fatigued, and your numbers just aren't moving, that's not a sign to push harder. It's your body literally telling you that it needs a break. So don't be stubborn, just take your rest days, get some proper sleep, and just recover properly. On to the next part, I have this story for you guys. When I lost those 72 pounds for the first time, I ate the same foods every single day. Chicken, rice, tilapia, ground beef, potatoes, all on repeat for 9 months straight. I was super miserable. I just remember this one time, my friends and I, we went go-karting, and I'm just sitting in the parking lot before we go in, eating plain chicken and rice, no seasoning, and I'm just scarfing down, and you just see me gagging. I would look up and my friends are all just laughing. Like, I'm forcing it because I think that's what discipline looks like. Like, I have to do this to lose that weight. But here's the thing, I couldn't sustain it. Eventually I quit and the weight came back. Through learning from that, if you hate what you're eating, you're gonna quit. it doesn't matter how motivated you are, you will quit. You gotta build your diet around foods you actually like. Just make them fit your numbers. And I'll give you an example. I'm Asian. I like noodle dishes. I like fried rice. I do certain substitutions. I use cognac noodles instead of regular noodles. Instead of using whole eggs in my fried rice, I use egg whites. I use a lot less oil. I'm very conscious about the seasoning I use, and it still tastes great. It fits in my macros. So you guys just have to find your version of that. Make that a lifestyle, not a temporary diet where you guys force yourself through. And that's all it really takes to be sustainable. Before ending off the video, I want to tell you guys that one of the biggest reasons that people quit is also they expect too much too fast. You think you're going to look like C-Bum in 2 years, which is impossible. The thing is, research shows natural lifters can gain roughly 20 to 25 pounds of muscle in the first year alone. 10 to 12 in the second year, 5 to 6 in the third, and 2 to 3 per year after that. It's obviously going to slow down, but also at the same time, your results will vary based on your genetics, training, nutrition, and recovery. All right, so now that we know the full system about training, programming, nutrition, recovery, mentality, the information is not the hard part. You could watch this video 10 times and have every single principle memorized and still not see results, because the hard part isn't knowing what to do. I went to personal training school. I have experience under my belt. I work with clients in luxury condominiums, but the hard part is actually executing it consistently for 6 months straight. You need to know when to adjust when things stop working and know when to push, when to pull back. Stay on track when life gets busy and when motivation disappears. That's exactly where I failed. I had the knowledge, I just didn't have the right system or someone in my corner to continuously push. I was doing it alone, and eventually alone wasn't enough.